Today we have a guest host, and I'm so delighted that Ashma Musa, who is on our board and has been for many, many years, is sitting in on Let's Talk About Your Breast, and she is interviewing another breast cancer survivor, Salima Hirani. Salima talks openly about the taboos surrounding the sexual organs when they are in some kind of disease or needing a treatment, and how important it is to really be able to talk to the community, to educate women, to talk about it, to have someone who's there to listen to you. I think we're going to learn a lot, but the one thing I learned in this episode was the fact that all breast cancer survivors are warriors, and they can never take a step back. When you subscribe to our show, you help us grow. Someone you know may need to hear this story, so please share with your family and friends and consider supporting our mission at therose.org. Let's Talk About Your Breast, a different kind of podcast presented to you by The Rose, a breast center of excellence and a Texas treasure. You're going to hear frank discussions about tough topics, and you're going to learn why knowing about your breast could save your life.
Assalamu alaikum, Salima. Welcome to our podcast at The Rose, and I want to thank you for coming out and sharing your story with us today.
Walaikum assalam, Asma. I'm happy to be here and feel honored that you asked me to come and share my story, and I will give you each and every bit of it so we can make sure that people know how important it is.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited.
How long has it been since you are cancer-free?
So I was diagnosed in October of 2015. So this October, it's going to be 10 years.
Wow, okay. So it's been 15 years for me. So
congratulations,
yes,
you're a survivor.
So that makes us survivor sisters.
Yes, absolutely.
So can you tell me a little bit about how and where your journey started with cancer and the first time you were told that you have breast cancer?
I would start a little further than that. I was in nursing school back home in Pakistan, and I finished my degree in 1998. And going through the nursing journey, you start learning about everything, of course, cancer. And I was doing my self-breast examination, and I felt a lump. So I went to Dr. Shaista that was in Al Khan University in Pakistan, and she examined me. And she said it was fibroadenoma, nothing to worry about, and just keep an eye. When I get pregnant, the lump is going to get bigger, and eventually it should come down back to its normal size. If it doesn't, I need to worry about it. So fast forward, in 2007, I was palpating my breast, doing self-examination after my menstrual cycle, and I felt the lump was a little bigger. So I went and got an examination done. They looked at it, it's still diagnosed with fibroadenoma, but I was anxious because I was growing older, my hormones are changing, I had 3 kids. It stayed in my mind.
Can I ask you, when did you first feel the lump? How old were you?
I was 19.
You were 19.
I was 19.
Wow, okay. So, and then thereafter, you did your other exam when you felt it.
Right. So in 2007, I said, I need to get this done. I went and had excisional biopsy done, which came out fibroadenoma. So I was happy, right? But to begin with, when they were testing, doing mammograms, they found out that my breasts were very dense, and I had a couple of fibroadenomas, but I had to keep an eye on it. And I kept following mammogram every year. In 2013, it seems like I was getting more of those fibroadenomas.
Spreading more?
Yeah.
Was it from one breast to the other, or just?
So both were dense, both had fibroadenomas. But I had an excisional biopsy done on the right. Now I started feeling more defined fibroadenomas. So I said, okay, what should I do? So I went back, being at UTMD Anderson as a nurse. I scheduled my appointments with them. Okay. So they started following me with mammogram and with ultrasound. And they said we have to do it both to make sure that it doesn't change.
Right.
So in 2015, in July, I had my ultrasound. That was my last ultrasound, and they were going to move me to only having mammograms.
Okay.
In September, I was visiting my daughter in Boston. She was in school, so we had friends and family weekend. And that week, I felt something very superficial.
Okay.
And I said, little different,
Doesn't feel
not that
right.
deep.
Yeah.
It's moving. So I went to see my daughter, and I told her, I said, hey, I'm feeling something, but I've been through so much. It's fibroadenoma, nothing to worry about. And she goes, Mom, I'm worried. I said, yeah, you're worried. I'm too, but it will be nothing.
Right.
So went back home, and I had a coworker who had just transferred from breast oncology clinic to us because I was now working behind the scene reviewing charts.
Okay. More administrative kind of.
Right. So
Okay.
I was with MD Anderson, but a company called Physicians Network, where we were reviewing charts from different hospitals in different states. So I would review charts for breast, colorectal cancer, prostate, lung cancer, GYN cancer. Like I was reviewing charts to make sure those physicians were following national guidelines to treat their patients. So one of my coworker had moved just from breast clinic to us in the administrative role. So when I got to work, I said, hey, do you mind checking my breast? And she goes like, you sure? I said, yeah, why not? Jimmy, we all have
you felt
breast.
comfortable with her.
Yeah. So we went to a huddle room, and of course, she examined me, and she goes like, I think you should go get it rechecked. And I can see a little worry on her face. Mm-hmm. I said, okay. I said, fine, thank you, Grace. And I went and called my other coworker because I've been with Anderson for 28 years, so I know a lot of people. And
all the
people,
departments.
people have moved around. So if I worked in one department, I left, those people have moved somewhere else too. So one of my former coworkers, she used to work in cancer prevention. So I called her. It was Friday. I said, hey, Mercy, I did have an exam done, but I think I'm feeling something and I'm very suspicious. Do you mind getting me in somehow? She goes, sure, let's see what I can do. Mm-hmm. So this conversation happened at 7:30 in the morning. Come 8:15, she calls me. She goes like, hey, I got a appointment scheduled for you 8:30. Just walk towards the cancer prevention building. Mm-hmm. I said,
Maze
okay.
Clinic?
Yes. So I said,
I'm very familiar with that.
Right. Okay. So, and I was in 1MC building. So, okay, I'll walk. So while I was walking, I said, let me tell my coworkers if my manager is looking for me, I'm just going across the street. So I went to two of my coworkers that I'm really very close to. So I said, hey, Lindsay, I'm going across the street. Amanda, I'm going across the street. In case Peter comes, let him know that I'm going to be back. And they go like, do you want us to come? And I said, no, it's something routine. Mm-hmm. I'm just feeling it. I'm being paranoid. I just want to get it checked. Mm-hmm. So I walked across the street. They took me in, and they said, we're just going to do ultrasound straight. We're not doing mammogram. I said, fine, let's do it. I've been doing it, so nothing to worry about. Got in, they did my ultrasound. They said, let's do something more. I was like, whoa.
That's when you started feeling like there's a little bit more that they're seeing.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I was like getting a little anxious, and because like, nothing to worry about. Your employee will take good care of you. And in my mind I said, I'm not an employee that I'm thinking about what you're going to tell me, right?
Right.
So a radiologist came in after the tech has done their test.
Part,
And she goes like, I'm feeling something on your axilla. Do you mind if I do biopsy? I think it will be better. I said, go ahead. Now, while they're preparing, I'm texting my coworkers. I was like, what's wrong? You've been gone for an hour. Ultrasound shouldn't take this long. Because we all nurses. We know, right, how long procedure takes.
And they were concerned.
Right. And when you go as an employee, they let you get it done quicker so you get back to work. So I said, no, I think they're doing biopsy. And they're like, do you want us to come? I said, no, guys, it's going to be fine. They went and did biopsy. 10 minutes, they said, you have cancer.
Oh, my goodness. So what went through your heart at that time when you first heard that you have cancer?
So I still have the text. I told my coworkers that we were in group chat. I said, guys, my worst nightmare came true. Because I was 45, right?
Exactly.
I had kids in school. One I had just started PA school, first year. My daughter was senior in college in Boston. My younger one was senior in high school. So I was like, I'm the single parent.
Wow.
What am I going to do with my kids, right? If something doesn't go in the right direction,
Absolutely.
if it goes south, then what is going to happen to my kids? They have goals and visions to become professionals. They want to be on their full potential.
Absolutely.
On what they are thinking, right? So I was like, oh my God, it's not looking great.
Right. You know, it's so funny when you first get diagnosed, you don't even think about yourself. You think about your children.
Yes.
That's your first motherly, I guess, the bond that we have with our children. We worry about them, and at that moment, you know that your direction is going to change, and how is that going to affect and maybe scar them from this.
Yes.
You know, and that's what you worry. And I felt the same way when I'm listening to you. I understand how you felt.
Thank you.
And then thereafter, who was the first person? Did you go and tell your children? Did you sit down with them and tell them?
So I went and told my brother, who I was close at that time, and then I told them not to come to my place. I wanted to share this news by myself.
Okay.
So my daughter came from school. No, she went to work after school. She came home. I waited for my son to drive from UTMB Galveston. He drove in, and then we went for dinner. They ate. I didn't eat. He was like, why aren't you eating? I said, I had a big lunch. However, I had no food the whole day because I was thinking how I'm going to...
Yeah, the anxiety.
Yeah, share this news and how they're going to take it, right? So came home, and he goes, I'm going to go see my dad. And I was divorced. I had gone through divorce a few years prior to that. So it was like two household, right? So I said, I know you want to go, but I want to share something before you leave. And he goes like, what is that you want to share? I said, let's sit down and let's...
And how old were they at that point?
So my son was probably 26.
Okay.
No, 24.
Okay.
Or 25. My middle one was graduating college, so she must be 22.
Okay.
And my younger one was not 18, she was 17.
Okay, so she was just still in high school.
School in high school.
Yes.
So we sat on the couch and I said, hey, I've been diagnosed with breast cancer, and he lost it.
Really?
He lost it. And my younger one was like not knowing what's going on because she didn't process the term I used.
Right.
And she goes like, why are you crying? What's wrong? What's wrong with Pi? Like they call him Pi as a brother.
Yes.
He goes like, you don't know what's going on. You didn't hear what she said. And he was very upset.
He was angry.
He was angry. Like, why? He said, why it's happening to you? We are just getting stabilized. Like, why us? I said, no one knows why. There's a reason.
Right.
And we have to do this. And then he told my younger one, my baby, that, okay, she has breast cancer. And then she got upset, of course.
Of course.
And then we decided to call my middle one to let her know that I have breast cancer. So then we called her, and she answered the phone. We told her I had breast cancer, and she said, okay, I'll talk to you later. There was no response.
Right. So everybody was in their own way trying to process this news, because they always saw mom is the strong one, and obviously they love you and they respect you for raising them, and they feel like this is not fair.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
what they go. It's like, why is my mom going to go through this?
Right.
I can relate to that, and I'm sure you had many things going through your mind, like what's next?
Right. That was the one that kept me up. That was the
unknown.
say fear of unknown was the challenge. Though I had read thousands of cases, evaluated thousands of treatment regimens.
I mean, you work in that arena.
Right. And that was my job,
Right.
to review cases, do
Right.
quality assurance, and have a standard management plan for the physicians who weren't following national guidelines and how to mitigate those. So that
Right.
was the actual work I was
But
doing.
now it's hit home.
Now it's me, right?
Yeah.
And how am I going to deal with it?
Right.
And what's going to be end product and how it's going to affect my children. That was the main thing that was
Absolutely.
keeping me up.
Absolutely.
So it was something that I think happened for a reason. It was blessing in disguise.
Yes.
I was stage 3. And I can tell you, Ashma, that I have seen good people, but I have seen the best people when I was going through my journey.
Yes. It's amazing when you're going through that challenge, how you find out who is who, right? And you also find out who is who not.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I'm, and you want to keep those people that are positive, that's going to, heal you through this journey.
Yes.
And you quickly learn to sort of put yourself in this safe space because you almost have to and say, time out, I need to take care of myself now. Initially, you're completely lost. You can't. I remember, I don't know if you went through this or not, but after your biopsy, I'm sure you had a visit with the doctor and you feel like you're in a tunnel. I don't know. How did you feel?
So my story doesn't end with one biopsy.
Oh, dear.
So once I went home, got my ducks in a row with the children, Monday morning, my vice president of my company reached out to the breast surgeon to
Okay.
get me in.
Okay.
Like everybody, from the president to the receptionist
Right.
was
They
on
all
my
came
journey.
together.
They came together.
Awesome.
So they have to do staging to see exactly
Yes.
what stage I am before they tell me, regardless being lymph node being
Right.
positive,
That sets
right?
the stage.
That's the standard. That's the basic starting point. So I went through MRI, and I still remember when I walked in, I said, I can't do this MRI. I have done MRIs with my patients because I used to be a nurse for brain cancer, and I would take my patients to MRI all day long, like 365 days. But when it came to me, I said, I can't do it. So one of my good friend, MRI technician, he stayed with me while I was getting my MRI done. And I had to sign a waiver that he's not my family. I will be exposed. My breast will be exposed and he can see me and I'm fine. I said, I can sign any paper, but I want Stanley with me.
Right.
He's not Muslim.
Yes.
He's someone I have
But
gotten to know him.
You feel
Yeah.
the comfort level.
Yeah, he was my comfort at that time.
He's not
and
going to judge you. He's
No.
going to support you
Right.
through this
journey, right? So they did my MRI and come to find out there was a spot on my left breast. So initially it was in my right breast and axilla and ended up being in my left breast as well.
Wow.
So they had to do a biopsy on the first day of my chemo to make sure that it's the same type of cancer.
Right, because each cancer is different.
Different. The cell type is
Yeah.
different.
So which cell type did you have?
So I had invasive ductal carcinoma.
Okay. And negative for
So
estrogen.
my ER was 13%. That's not negative, not positive. So they kind of treated as in between. So I went through all 3 regimen for treatment modalities. So I
Yes.
went through 5 months of chemo.
Okay. So that's what you had the chemo first.
Right.
To shrink it.
To shrink my lymph nodes, right? Because if they would not do it, then I have to do chemo after. So they did chemo for 5 months. Then I went and since it was in both breasts, I had already made up my mind to get mastectomy done.
Okay.
Even before knowing that it was in another breast. So I went through bilateral mastectomy. However, research shows that you don't need.
No, the outcomes are
Pretty much the same.
But for some reason, I don't know how you felt, but I felt like I didn't want to live on the edge, continuously going surveillance and having mammograms and
Right.
all this stuff. So I thought, for me, that was peace. So I don't know if that's the determination you made with your decision.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was my key point. I did not want it to go through the same journey because my kids were at an age that they were trying to figure their destiny out. They were trying to have their professional career put in
That
place.
was a very, that's a growing time.
Right. So I told that I when I had a meeting with my breast surgeon, I told her I wanted bilateral mastectomy, and she said, I want you to think about it. So when I went to work, I used to work with 2 renowned breast surgeons in my team, and they took me in their office and they said, Salima, there's no need. Please don't do it because you're going to regret it 10 years down the road. And you're young, you might find someone. This is something makes you a woman. You don't
Right.
get it right now. And I said, Dr. Ames, this is something is for peace of my mind
Right.
because I don't want breast tissues. If the person comes along in my life, he will accept me for who I am.
Right.
And this is something will give me, in my mind, guarantee that I'm not going to have this again in the same place. So I just want to go with it.
Wow.
And I did go with it.
You did. Okay.
I did. And then I went through reconstruction. But before that, I went through 5 weeks of radiation.
Okay. So you had chemo, radiation, and then surgery.
No, surgery and then radiation.
And then radiation. Okay. So first of all, I want to say you are a true survivor. You're a
Thank you.
soldier.
Thank you.
Okay. And to be alone in your journey, I commend you
Thank you.
for being able to have that strength. Who do you think in your family was your biggest strength?
My children.
Your children.
My children.
Yes.
My children.
They're the ones that are the healers.
Yes, because from the day I was diagnosed, my middle one, she wanted to leave everything. Last year of college, she wanted to take a year break, come take care of me. I said, no, this is your battle, you fight. This is my battle, I fight. No one is leaving anything. Yeah. Everyone is going to finish school. I'm going to get my treatment done, and we'll get back together as a whole.
Right.
And Ashma, I will tell you that that girl, we would talk once a week before my journey because she was so busy. But she made a point that she will call me every single day just to say, hey, Mom, what are you doing? 2 minutes, done.
Do you feel that the boys react differently than the girls?
I don't think so.
No? See, my daughter, I don't know about your daughter, but she was very concerned, always there, wanting to do everything. And my son was, I guess he was just carefree. He was so little. So I'm not sure whether you saw the difference in your, your son and your daughter, how they, responded afterwards with the healing process.
So, healing process, I can see it's different. Mm-hmm. But during the journey, my son was there. Like even when I went through my surgery, it was a 9-hour surgery.
Right.
So, and he was at UTMB, and my surgery was supposed to start at noon, and I would not get done till 9 p.m. Right. And it was on a weekday, of course, right? They don't do big surgeries on weekends. No. So he kept asking me that if he could come for surgery straight from UTMB. Stay till I get back conscious and then go back. I said, that doesn't make sense. You stay there, you check with your sister, and they'll update you. And my brother was there. Right. I said, you check with your uncle, and they'll update you. There's no need. Don't come. Even that day, my daughter went to high school. She did go to school. And from school, she came to MD Anderson for my surgery. Right. So I told them, no one is stopping their life. Everyone is going to move on with their life. Okay. I can do this. And the best thing is, in my journey, my friends and my coworkers was my biggest support.
Absolutely. You were invested in that friendship.
I was. Everybody was. Each chemo, someone will pick me up, get my blood work done. Mm-hmm. and then I'll walk a quarter mile from the one building to the other. Then they had made a list of people who would come with me for my chemotherapy, what show I'm going to watch, and then who's going to take me home. So everything was planned by my department.
Right.
I had to do
and
nothing.
That's called community support.
Yes.
You had amazing. So can I ask you how did you encounter any like taboo-ish kind of behavior, or from your family, your friends that are more in your community, that you felt that they didn't understand?
I'm glad you asked that question. I was waiting for it. When is she going to ask me this? So, to give you a little backstory, my dad was diagnosed with cancer when I was in 8th grade. And my mom's side of the family was very helpful. He had radiation. And I realized that with cancer, you end up with challenges, right?
Absolutely.
And when I was diagnosed, I was very private about my journey. It's not because I felt that people will not support me, but I did not want anyone to feel pity on me. Okay. I was always been a strong provider. I was the first one in my family who went and got a nursing degree and worked professionally outside. Right. So I didn't want it to show my weak side, right?
Yes, yes.
So there is a big taboo. People feel pity on you. And sometimes it seems like instead of people being helpful, they start gossiping about you.
Absolutely.
So if you had a small surgery done, they'll say, oh, you had a big surgery done. And, when information goes from one to the other person, it changes.
Of course, the lingo changes.
The lingo changes. The real message changes.
Yes.
So
and things are added to it.
Right. So there is a big taboo, yes. Even when I finished my plastic surgery, when I went through first set of surgery and I had mastectomies done, I felt like damaged good, because this is how much effect community makes on you, right? Because that's what they see you and that's how you see it. So there is a big taboo, yes. Was I open about my journey? No.
You weren't. Okay.
Now I'm open about it because I feel that this is me and I'm not going to change. And why am I holding this from people who do not matter in my life, right? Community is community, yes.
Yes.
But the people who matter are my children. Absolutely. And they accept me.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what community thinks about me.
Right. When you started speaking up, in the sense where you trying to let them know, what is it that you were actually going through? Did they understand what you were actually going through, the emotional part of this journey? Were they sympathetic towards that?
Yes, they were empathetic, I should say, not sympathetic. They were empathetic. Okay. But I was really in a close-knit people. Like, my children knew, my siblings knew, and one of my uncle that I treat him like at the place of my parents, because he's the younger brother of my mom, my uncle, and I told his family. So his family knew and they knew, and they were very supportive.
They were, okay. So if you were to give a message to your community about breast cancer, what is the one message that you would like to give them to let them know that it's okay to talk about this, and why?
First of all, I would say we should encourage people to get breast screening done.
Yes.
That's
Which
something
I
we don't do.
commend you for that, because you were on top of it.
Right. I had to, because I had children. It wasn't me by myself. So the first message I will give to the community is, please go get your screening done. It's very important. You want to know what's going on in your body. If you don't know, how can you predict 10 years from now it's going to happen with your family, right? Or yourself? Just be aware of your own body.
Exactly.
Get screening done. Second, if you find something is going on or something is diagnosed, it's better to go share with people you feel confident about.
Absolutely.
Because those are the people who are going to be there to support you.
Right.
And then if you're open to share it. There's nothing wrong with it. This is not something you did wrong to yourself. It
No.
happened.
Right.
It is something that was going to happen now or 10 years down the road. But if you're open about it, you let people know that this is manageable disease. You can get through it. And you can come victor on the other side. You don't have to stay a victim. You're not a victim in this situation. You're going through the process to become a victor.
Right. You know, when you start speaking about it more openly, initially you do get resistance, but once you repeatedly speak about it, at least that's what I found was in the community, the more they sort of came out of that shell and were able to sort of share if they knew somebody was. Did you encounter that?
Yes.
Okay.
So even right now, I don't openly say I went through the journey, but once I hear someone is going through it, then I make a point. I go to them and I said, hey, we know each other not that closely, but I just want to let you know I went through this myself, so I understand. It's not empty word saying, oh, I understand, right? You don't understand if you haven't gone through it.
Right.
But if I have gone through it, I understand what your challenges are.
Right.
If you need me, I'm here at your service at any time. And
That's
I
nice.
tell people, when I say anytime, it's any time,
Right.
day or night. You can reach out to me. You can call me. I just came across someone, not from the community, but one of my friend. She's diagnosed. And I told her, I said, you can call me,
Right.
not to vent. You just can call me and just stay on the phone with you quietly, give you your time,
Your space.
We don't have to talk. You just call and say, hey, I just want quiet time with you, but stay on the phone. I can do that too. You don't have to talk.
Right.
Because sometimes people need quiet time. Right. So I am there. So I feel honored to be part of their journey because I can contribute in some
way.
form or fashion.
Yeah. To bring them comfort.
Yeah.
To get through their journey.
Right.
Before we continue this episode, I have to let you know about something that is happening throughout this month of July. Our anonymous donor is at it again, and she wants to match your donation up to $100,000. So think about it. $20 is now $40, $100 is now $200, and if you're feeling really generous, $1,000 is now $2,000. Just think about all the women that we could help with your donation and our anonymous donors match. Please go to therose.org. It's easy to make your donation there. And as our donor said, every dollar counts. Now back to the podcast.
Salima, we've been talking about more of the breast cancer subject in bringing it out in the community and the family and what you went through. I wanted you to tell me some of the challenges that you still face talking about, when you're in a conversation with community, somehow your journey comes up, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Right? So how do you navigate that into a conversation with, the Muslim community or the Hindu community that you come across that makes you feel like you're trying to get the message out there to make them understand how important it is to prevent this disease?
So, Ashma, let me tell you one thing, that I have few female family members that I know one has done mammogram just twice. And the other one hasn't done any. And I always ask why that you don't get it done. And the response is, Allah knows better. He has given a body. He'll take care of it. But my thing is it's body is given to you, but you need to take care of it, right?
Absolutely.
And it seems like we are more gearing towards religion in this section, not understanding the body is physical, which needs to be taken care of. And constantly talking to them, sometimes it feels like I'm nagging them. And I don't mind nagging. I have a personality. I just keep going and going because I want someone to get benefit of what I got it from. So I think having more conversations, maybe more kind of get-togethers, maybe commercialize, like advertising it more by the flyer and all that, could be a way to touch that part of the age population, I should say, because younger population is very good at, to my understanding, in Smiley community, they're good at getting their prevention done. Yes. But I think older population are just very reluctant, or I think they don't care.
And I think also, do you feel they have a fear? And, they feel like there's a fear of, oh, what if I find out there's cancer? Do you feel that they...
Yes, I definitely feel the fear in them. And then I think there's not a clear explanation of what is going to happen when you get what is mammogram, right?
Right.
You go for a test, your breast is put between two plates, the examination is done, and then they will diagnose, or they will tell you if it's nothing to worry about, it's something to worry about. So I think that clarity is not there.
No, and I always, I don't know if you experience this, but I want to bring this out, is most of the time women think it's painful.
Yes.
Because they've heard
from other
women, and they make it sound almost like this was the hardest thing I ever did.
Right. Right. And if you ask you and me, we have been through harder than that.
Yes.
So I think it's lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge, yes.
Lack of understanding. Mm-hmm. And I would say in the sense of overcoming this, I think more conversation has to happen.
Exactly. So one of the things, going back to they're afraid and they've heard that it's painful, because they feel it's the unknown pain. They don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
But besides, also they're going to find out. Say if they find out they just don't want to know. But now I usually stress upon that subject that mammograms have come a long way. They have certain ways of doing it with different plates and things like that. They're almost painless.
Right.
So I think bringing that conversation out and kind of redefining what mammogram feels like and what it's all about will be very, very helpful if we could get that message out to our faith-based community members, because that's where the older generation also comes and the younger generation.
Absolutely.
So I feel that is one of the most resistant things I come across when we talk about mammograms. What about, have you had any women that have felt a lump in their breast, and have they come out to you?
Not yet.
Okay.
I've heard of people, but they haven't come to me. So there are times that one of my friends, that she's more social than I am, she'll say, oh, hey, this one said that they had a lump. I said, then they need to go get it checked. And it's like, oh, she's afraid. I said, yeah, but till the time you don't get it checked, how are you going to know it's normal or abnormal? And I can tell you they did come to Rose to get that mammogram done.
Right.
But it wasn't a direct interaction with me, but it was from someone, and it was benign.
Right.
But the thing is, sometimes they put it in the back of their mind and they don't want to deal with it. I'm not sure how. Maybe it is because they don't have the family support, or they feel that if they bring this up, it's going to change family dynamics.
Right.
Because there are people that being in the nursing profession, I've seen cancer diagnosis can change family dynamics.
Absolutely.
It can go south anytime. Mm-hmm. So I think the fear is there, not even for the testing, but the outcome. So I think more conversation might be helpful.
I don't know in your community, if you ever seen anything like this, that say a woman that was diagnosed with breast cancer and she's going through the journey, but her husband does not want to tell anybody and want to keep it within the family. I have experienced that, and it's the hardest thing for those children to deal with because they get no support, because dad is working, mom is going through this journey, and the children, they don't know how or
To
where
manage it.
manage the whole entire. And I've seen that, and it is extremely stressful for them.
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
And this is what happens when they just absolutely want to hide this from everybody. It is a very big challenge to bring it out and break that ice. You kind of almost have to, people get in your faces when you talk about this subject. So I don't know if you've ever experienced that.
I belong to Smiley community, right? And I think we are more open about it, so it's less of a struggle. But I can see at different mosques, it can be a challenge.
Right.
However, I feel that if we have more opportunities that we can share on radio stations about calling a physician,
Yes.
having a little segment on it, giving them some education, having flyers that this event is happening, and like a little do's and don'ts, why, like some kind of understanding.
Right. More education awareness.
Right. To give them that opportunity to decide for them. As you know, Ashma, this is your personal decision how you treat your body, right? And
I mean, even though our faith says, we put our trust in Allah,
yeah.
but also our faith also says you need to take care of your body.
Yeah, because it's physical.
This is your temple. This
Yeah.
is, Allah has provided you with a healthy body, and you want to try to keep it as healthy
Right.
as possible. So there's foods that we eat. All this is part of the faith-based nurturing your body. And I think sometimes people, I have even heard, this is an experience I had with my own self, is they said that, maybe she did something wrong in her life, that God is testing her.
Yes, that's very common.
And that is so against our faith.
Yes,
So I think it depends on which walk of life they come from.
yes.
Education, of course, plays a very big role, but sometimes even the most educated are scared to go and get a mammogram.
Right.
I've had people that I've actually put in the car and brought them here at the Rose. And once they did that the first time, then the second time it was okay.
Right.
That fear was gone.
Right.
I'm hoping that with our talk today, that we can bring awareness to our communities and bring awareness that this disease is absolutely treatable if it's caught early.
Yes.
That is the message that we need to. And so I wanted to find out, how are you going to do that within your own community as a breast cancer survivor and an advocate?
So before I answer that question, let me tell you something. I know someone who's diagnosed stage 4, and she is on immunotherapy, and she has no progression. So even with the early stage or late stage, it's a manageable and treatable disease.
Absolutely.
So I think we have to give them a clarity that regardless of your stage, it's a treatable disease.
Absolutely.
There are like 4 or some kind of million people, women are living with breast cancer in U.S. by itself as a survivor.
Survivor, yes.
Millions of women are living with as a survivor. So regardless of your stage, you can be treated and you can live a normal life.
And there's so much research that has
Right.
been done.
Right.
And they've been able to, when I tell them that, they think breast cancer is just one breast cancer.
Right.
No, there is several different kinds of breast cancer,
Right.
cell type.
Right.
There is immunotherapy. There's
Right.
targeted therapy for different breasts. And that kind of catches their attention.
Right.
Like, what do you mean there's different cell types and different types of... So I think these type of deeper conversations, once they understand the importance of breast cancer, then that would be like the second, and sometimes you do get their attention.
Right.
So I'm hoping that you and I can make a big difference in our community.
Yes.
And hopefully make them understand that you can be treated, even though the word cancer is like the scariest thing for them to hear. It was for us too, right?
Yeah. Before, cancer was a death sentence, right?
Right.
Years ago. Cancer was a death sentence. If you get a cancer, then you're going to die. But it's not the reality right now. You can live with it. You can be cancer-free.
The other thing I also think is that sometimes a lack of not having insurance, they don't have the ability to pay for a mammogram. And I think bringing resources to the community would change the game.
Right.
And giving them, and of course, we have people in our community that almost everyone has insurance.
Right.
To let them know that there is a place you can go and you can give back to the community, the women that don't have insurance. And that's why I love the Rose. And I'm so glad that you have now been introduced to the Rose.
Thank you. And I would love to be part of it, do next support group, because my future dream is to have a support group in the community where people can come talk about it. Because sexual organs are considered off-limit topics in our culture, and they're frowned upon, or people giggle with nervousness to it. And it shouldn't be like that. It's part of your body that needs to be taken care of. We are not doing something wrong. It's something that needs to be done.
Right.
So people should understand, because when I finished my treatment, I went through therapy myself because I had no breast. So it was something that I had to deal with it. And a lot of people in our community, Ashma, they don't deal with it. And they keep it inside them and ends up eventually having some other health condition, because that stress stays in you. You're constantly
they're constantly living in a dark space.
Yeah.
And that's what I usually tell my support group, that you don't need to live in a dark space. It's okay to talk about this.
Right.
It's going to make things a lot less heavy on your shoulders.
Right.
And obviously, you should talk to somebody who you can trust. And I think that's what my goal and vision is how can you approach a woman that has strict rules that she's been living by, with different cultures, different way of living, not talking about these kind of subjects, is how do you present it to them gently, and then they understand and then start a conversation.
Right.
So I'm sure you try to do that as much as possible when you start talking about it.
Yes.
And, to get that conversation started is very difficult sometimes.
Yes. So that's the reason I think when I give them my number, what I do is I wait for them and I send them a heart emoji.
Right.
Just so they know that I'm thinking about them, and if they need, they can reach out to me. And I understand I don't want to invade anyone's space and overbearing, but a text, they might take it positive or negative. It's their decision, but I am there. So I think I'm opening up that door.
Good.
And letting them come to it, because the resource is there. I can share my journey. I can go to your appointment with you. I can make you understand what side effects you're going to have. How can you not have those? How can you prevent them? Right. But it's things that they have to decide. But I'm bringing to them. So to your question, I think it was, how am I going to do with my community? I think having more of an open conversation, having this little talks, invitation, letting women know that this meeting is happening, they can come talk about it.
Right.
I think that will be the platform or avenue I will start with.
Good. I
And
think
open
that's-
flyers, which constantly
and having
reminds them-
smaller groups.
Right.
Because remember, when you bring smaller groups, one person will tell 5 people, and that's how you grow
Yeah.
the healing community.
Right. And in our culture, word of mouth is a big thing. If you had a good experience, I have to go try it. That's word of
Right.
mouth.
Yes.
We really rely. We don't review check. We get like each other word of mouth.
Right.
That's the best response we can get to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I really feel there's a lot of work to be done.
Yes.
With this. Breast cancer is becoming more and more of an epidemic.
Right.
Especially within the younger girls. And of course, and the other thing is that they don't know that this is a male disease as well.
Yes.
So I tried to let them know, and they get baffled.
Yes.
They're like, what are you talking about?
Isn't that sad?
They're like, no, that's not true. And I said, no, it's very much true.
Yep.
Very much true.
And their disease can be more aggressive than ours.
I think we have a mission.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And if I were to ask you, do you think that this journey of breast cancer has given you the biggest purpose in your life?
Yes. Absolutely, yes. I used to be a nurse taking care of oncology patients. Then being a patient, it's different, right? So I see both perspective now. So I will be the best person to give them a bigger picture of it, what to understand, what to know, what to ask,
Right.
what to do. So I think it's my responsibility now to share this with others and bring them to light.
Right.
What can be done to prevent it?
To prevent it.
If you have it, what to do, and how to continue being a survivor.
Right.
Because it's just not one phase. It has different phases, and you continue with your life in those phases, and those phases can change. A survivor can get diagnosed again.
Right.
And a prevention
Absolutely.
can end up having a breast cancer. So it's a phase that changes. Do you want it to change? Yes and no, but you can control it. So yes, it's your and my responsibility as a survivors to help others
Absolutely.
navigate it better than we had.
Exactly.
Because things are changing.
Do you, in closing, I would like to ask you, do you get women that come up to you and tell you and look up to you and they commend you? Have you ever had those kind of women that it's almost like they're praying for you that you made it?
Yes. So I tell whoever is going through breast cancer and myself, we are the warriors, and we never take a step back. So they have learned the word warriors from me. So they always say, "Oh, you're a warrior, you're a victor." So those are the compliments I've heard, and they love the energy. I work out 5 days a week, and I encourage them to come work out with me,
Awesome.
walk with me, have a deeper conversation that will allow them to relieve those feelings that they're putting in the back of their mind. So I have offered and I've heard good stuff, but I think, Ashma, you and I think we should do
Absolutely.
something moving, right? Something
Yes.
happening.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think this is the best platform to have a podcast and
I hope
let
that we
people-
can, with this podcast, we can get the message out
Yes.
that you're not alone.
Yes.
There's always somebody here
Yeah.
that will listen. And the most important thing that our faith teaches us you only get tested with what you can handle,
Exactly.
not
Yep.
beyond that.
No.
Salima, you are an amazing, amazing woman.
Thank you. Likewise,
And
I feel the
commend
same.
you and for raising your children and going through this journey. And I pray for you, and I, ask Allah that you have a long, happy, healthy life.
Amen. Amen to
Inshallah.
that. Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for joining us today on Let's Talk About Your Breasts. This podcast is produced by Speak Podcasting and brought to you by The Rose. Visit therose.org to learn more about our organization. Subscribe to our podcast, share episodes with friends, and join the conversation on social media using hashtag Let's Talk About Your Breasts. We welcome your feedback and suggestions. Consider supporting The Rose. Your gift can make the difference to a person in need. And remember, self-care is not selfish. It's essential.